Chicago. Ordinary cops are losing the battle against the super freaks. Then a miracle happens. The Chicago PD lets a green guy into the ranks to try and help out. So at the request of Matt Hickman, we're going all the way back to 1992 and the golden age of Image Comics. Become a patron and make your own requests. Massive spoilers are massive for the Savage Dragon comics. You've been warned. On with the show. The Dragon number 2. We start right back up with Dragon busting into the bank and kicking the ever-loving snot out of Cutthroat and Glowbug. Cutthroat is trying to be all big and bad, but he's not a super freak. He's just a freaky-looking regular guy who loves his knives. Dragon gets him to surrender after the scuffle, though. He then continues his run of taking out super freaks. Actually, while we can say that this is where the art gets fairly 90s, with big biceps and even bigger guns, what works for the pseudo-montage of Dragon cleaning up the streets is that we also get news coverage of his first day, with a mix of feelings from the public and his fellow officers. It's a good way to play up the action but keep characterization. To cap off his first day, he's already basically become the hard-edged but not murdery cop and goes in to deal with a hostage situation in the most let's shoot everyone way. But with the montage of the rest of the day, it feels more like a I just want to go home and be done with it sort of thing. And here's also where we meet Star, a costumed hero, though they just pop in to say hi and then leave, basically. After his long day, he gives a general interview about how he just wants to be treated like everyone else. And the interview is seen by a cadre of super freaks with the order to cack that fool, or do as they please with Dragon if you don't want to get into all that 90s slang. If the first comic is meant to set up the world, the plot going forward, the characters, and basically everything so that the second issue can bring you into the status quo, or rather the standards that'll be going forward, this is a pretty good follow-up. Now, obviously, I could take the shallow route and go, it's mostly just action and explanations, but we see the action affecting Dragon's attitude and look throughout the day, while the Talking Heads media coverage really shows us how some recurring characters, as well as the general public, thinks about this new shift towards lawfulness. I'm also interested to see where this new vigilante Star goes because they just pop in real quick with a couple knives to a bad guy and say, I'm here now, okay, bye. I'm actually going to probably get a little critical thought on this, and Star, as well as Dragon of course, represents the 90s mentality when it comes to heroes. They're street level, with Dragon being more morally altruistic, still willing to blow holes into guys' knees, while the two heroes mentioned last issue, Mighty Man and Super Patriot, were both active in the 1940s. It's an old versus new that really did come up a lot in the 90s, I noticed, what with most companies going for something along those lines, be it about legacy or a changing of the guard mindset. While I do think the Savage Dragon does that here, it's not the crux of the plot. This isn't Dragon or Frank or any of the good guys going, their way failed, it's time for our own brand of justice. Actually, I think Dragon being a police officer, while he doesn't do all the by-the-book stuff, for instance shooting up an entire hostage situation, which may not have led to any deaths, would still definitely be a week's worth of paperwork, and in Chicago, it'd probably lead to riots and protesting. But the Dragon does represent the law being able to be enforced as it is, with an idealistic iron fist. Actually, I did get RoboCop-y vibes from this, with just the idea that to beat the ever-expanding criminal presence, you need something or someone just as hard to uphold the laws. Yes, different themes and motifs, but still. With his first day out of the way, come back tomorrow as we see the retaliation of the Vicious Circle.